2 Peter chapter 3. Repetition is a good teacher. When you hear Pastor Gene repeat, it's because I choose to repeat, not that I doesn't have anything to say. By the way, I mentioned the two women in Jackson County in Silva. They're magistrates. I need to register deed by law is required to hand out a marriage license, but it's the magistrate can choose to marry somebody or not marry somebody. So they're magistrates up in Jackson County. Do not let current events dictate your view of the second coming of Jesus. Let the Bible control your view of current events. Have you heard me say that over and over and over? I don't believe Jesus is going to come because of what's going on in the world. I believe Jesus is going to come because the Bible said he was going to. Amen. The Bible said he was going to come. Right. So, are there certain events that happen? Why, sure. But now listen. Listen to these words. Verse 1. This second epistle, and the word epistle is a letter. This second letter, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by the way of remembrance. He said, I'm going to repeat myself. Repetition is a good teacher. You've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets. I'm going to repeat what they've said. And of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust. The insults by the scoffers. And then the illustration or illumination by the Scriptures. Verse number 4, listen to this. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? I had somebody say to me a couple of years ago, you preachers have preached on the second coming of Jesus ever since I was a little kid, and he hadn't come yet. He hadn't come yet. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? They were saying that 2,000 years ago. For since the fathers fell asleep, before the fathers died, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. For this they willingly are ignorant. Now, being ignorant is one thing. Willingly ignorant is another thing. Huh? Amen. John Wayne said, life is tough, but being stupid makes it tougher. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water, and in the water. I'm from the Great Smoky Mountains. Some of you have been to Mount Mitchell in the Blue Ridge Mountains, the tallest mountain by a few feet in North Carolina. That was underwater at one time. That was underwater. Now listen, verse 6. Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. You remember about Noah, don't you? But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. God doesn't look at time like we do. God sees day after tomorrow just like day before yesterday. Time. We're geared for time. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise. Now you're saying the Lord is slack. He hadn't come yet. it's the Lord's fault. He's slack. He said, no, as some men count slackness. But you'll listen to this. But is long-suffering to us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Wow, he put them in their place, didn't he? Jesus hadn't come. Well, the only reason he hadn't come, he doesn't want you to go to hell, so he's giving you a little bit longer.
Amen.
Porter Wagner wrote a song that Furlong Husky made a hit in the 50s, and I sang that song as a little 5 or 6-year-old boy at a Church of God church in Whittier, North Carolina. I remember them putting me up on the stage, and I sung, "Wait a little longer, please Jesus. A few more days to get our loved ones in. Just a little longer, please Jesus. So many now are wandering out in sin." How many of you remember that song? Wait a little longer, please. That's what he's saying. The insults of the scoffers. The scoffers have always been here. That's nothing new. The Bill Maher's on TV. That crowd's always been here. There's always somebody who will scoff at those who believe in God. They're scoffing at Miss Davis. Geraldo Rivera, who didn't even claim to be a believer, was putting her down and making fun of her. He said, why, she's a hypocrite. She's been married more times than I have. He said the other night. Yet she wants to claim disbelief. Listen, there's always been scoffers. There will be scoffers until the last day. There's going to be 1,000 years that people are going to be under the rule and reign of the Lord and going to see Jesus reign perfectly for 1,000 years. And at the end of that 1,000 years, the devil's going to be loose for a season. And some of that crowd that's seen God rule in righteousness for 1,000 years will turn and choose the devil.
Amen.
That's called total depravity. Unless God changes your heart and your life, you can see God rule and reign. The Bible said they saw the miracles that Jesus performed and they didn't believe. And God spoke out of heaven and said, here, this is my son, I'm well pleased. And the people standing by said, why, it thundered. That just thunder, that wasn't God. People will write it off to anything. Scoffers. You take a stand at work, there'll be somebody that worked with you scoff you. You take a stand where you live, and somebody in that crowd, and it'll be somebody that you wouldn't think that'll take that opposite view. Even in your own family. Even in your own family. I have somebody in my family in the mountains. Raised the same way I was, heard the same truths I did, taught the same way I was. Chosen to go down a liberal path in life. Anything that's liberal, vote for the most liberal politicians. Support the most liberal views. By the way, when you do that, you're scoffing at God. You can even say things against God the Father. You can say something against God the Son. But there's a third part of the Trinity called the Holy Spirit. You say something against Him, He'll just walk off from you. Never bother you again. Unless the Holy Ghost of God deals with a man, he can't be saved. That's right. That's the reason it's the unpardonable sin. After a while, folks, I don't feel anything. No wonder they scoffed at God one time too many. God just walked off from them.